This is a classic. It's written and published in the year 1931. So during the Great Depression era, and it is written by a very famous English author called Virginia Woolf. This is the lady that you see. She is the author. This book was written and published by her own publication house. Why that happened is because this book has a very different narrative. Now, as book readers, you guys might be aware of genres. You have poetry, you have play, and then you have a comedy. When it comes to poetry, it is even further categorized as comedy. Some of them are tragedy. And then you have fiction. In fiction, it is more categorized as a mystery, a thriller, a romantic, a horror. And then you have non-fiction, which is autobiography or journal or self-help. So likewise, the books are categorized. But this book cannot fall into a specific category. The author has approached a very different genre. She calls it a play poem. But it's neither falls under the poem category nor it falls under the play category. When you say a play, what do you imagine? When you say that you're witnessing a play, how would a play be? Dialogues, characters interacting with each other, acting it out, right? But this particular book is all about monologues. So monologue is a self-dialogue, something that you talk to yourself. And these monologues are not even spoken out loud. These monologues are spoken by the consciousness of the characters. So in this book, we are introduced to a conscious narrative. That's the new form of writing this author introduced. So this was very revolutionary during the time of 1931, because up until that time, there were no authors that actually approached this type of writing. Conscious narrative. The author is talking about a person's mind language. So this book actually turned the language of modern literature. And it became so influential where in the year 2015, when BBC conducted a poll, this book was chosen as, this placed 16th position in the greatest books ever written in the British history. And when you talk about the author, Virginia Woolf, she is young, she is born in 1882. So she was a pretty young author. She is from an aristocrat family, which means all of their family members are very well educated, high affluent people. And she wrote this book during the time period of Great Depression leading up to the Second World War. So let me dive a little bit about the book, but I will give you a kind of like a disclaimer. There is no plot twist in this story. Unlike a traditional book, there is no beginning or the end of a story. There is no linear storytelling. The book introduces us to 6 characters, 6 friends. And we will be seeing one day of their lifetime, starting from their childhood till their old age. But we will only see one day, a specific event. That's what the book is all about, right? So the author starts talking about a beautiful sunrise. Okay, the author says there is no difference between the sky and the sea because both are dark. It's as if it's covered by a grey blanket. Slowly, a small light creeps up. Like imagine, author is asking us to imagine, like if a lady is to pull a lamp from an armchair. So let's think that this is the sky and this is the sea. This is the horizon. So when the sun creeps up, slowly, that grey blanket is being taken off. You will be able to see the divide between the sky and the sea, right? And then during the initial time before the sun comes up fully, the sky will show you different colors. That will be a slab of yellow, slab of orange. Sometimes it's you can see the dark specks of the sky. You can see the even more darker shade of the sea. And this is all observed by 6 children, 3 boys, 3 girls. And for Rhoda, it was different. Rhoda was initially academically finding things difficult, right? So Rhoda decided that she's going to work so hard on herself, where she's going to complete this school and carry it as a badge of honor. But by focusing purely on academics, what Rhoda failed to do was to develop her social skills. So she was more inclined towards the academics, but she lacked her social skills. So she was not very comfortable with people around. She didn't understand actually to interact with people. She was more focused on her academics, and when people started talking to her, she felt very uncomfortable. She didn't know how to respond back to them. So what she actually did was she mimicked or she copied what Rhoda does or Susan does, and sometimes she gets caught, she gets caught while she's mimicking them. She gets caught and they get annoyed, like, why are you repeating what I'm doing? But this is the type of way Rhoda knows how to communicate. And then later on she realized that she is happy in solidarity. She's happy being secluded. She's happy in her books, in her academics, all by herself. She doesn't want it to mingle around. So her character develops in that way. On the other side, in the school of boys, all 3 of them enjoy the school. Bernard realizes that he is very good in storytelling. So he has a very vivid imagination. And then even when he looks at the headmaster, he admires the headmaster, but not for the headmaster as who he is. The language that is spoken, the perfection of the sentences of the headmaster, he adores that. So, and he realizes that every time his mind also sometimes makes up a perfect sentence. Okay, so what he does is he carries a small book in his hand. So every time a perfect phrase comes into his mind, he quickly writes it down because he wanted to become an author. On the other side, you have Neville, who is also fascinated by the headmaster, by the authoritative figures in his school, not for anything else. He only observes them that these people are so powerful. There are so many people who comes and talks to them and takes advice from them because of their authoritative figure. It's not only within the walls of the school, even beyond the school, these people are having a type of influence. So if you wanted to be a successful person in the world, you need to become an authoritative figure. And that is not only enough, you need to become an academic. And one way for you to get in the spotlight is to brush up on the love for languages. Neville loved different type of languages. So he loved the libraries, to spend his time head in different types of books, especially Spanish. He loved his Latin. Right? And on the other side, you have Louis. Now, Louis is the only outsider in this 6 friends gang. Why? Because Louis has an Australian accent. He's born in Australia, even though he's born to an English gentleman. His father is a banker. He has an Australian accent. So among all the Britishers, the Englishman, when he speaks, he is different. So he gets picked on. He gets bullied in the school. And Louis doesn't want to be on the spotlight for anything other than perfection. Louis wanted to portray himself as a person, I am perfect. I don't want it to be in the bad spotlight. One scenario that Louis thinks, his conscious mind is talking about, reminiscing, is during a time period where in a Christmas, his father actually forgot to send him a Christmas present. So when all the Christmas presents were distributed, it was Louis who was only standing without a Christmas present in the hand, and the warden got so sorry. He said, oh, this boy does not have a Christmas present, and he goes and gives him a Christmas present. But Louis throws a huge tantrum because he don't want to be in the spotlight in a bad way. He wanted to attain success and be on the right spotlight, successful spotlight.